Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Hxro Labs Live. I'll be your host today, Random Task. RT, much better. RT's so much easier to say. Random Task 555 on Twitter, though. Relevant information. Um, market's moving. Market's moving hard this week, like the move, next leg kind of stuff. So we're going to dive into the charts. We're going to talk about China. We're going to talk about Shanghai, specifically LSDs. I'm going to point you guys towards a couple of research reports that my fund recently put out because I think they're really good and I want to hear what you think about them. And if y'all appreciate them or if you're like, yo, this could be better, I want to hear both opinions on that. So we're going to take a look at all that stuff, some charts. I think we should switch over to Bitcoin chart right away. I mean, it looks like it could just move. Now, if you have like me, the temptation to always be looking for a trade, then up here you're like, well, I'm going to hedge out in case we roll back over. Um, and I actually set that up today and then very quickly decided that I don't want to. The trend is your friend. So we've been saying that for quite a while. In fact, if we go back, we're not going to go like, hey, we're going to go all the way back in time and find my old tweets and clout chase. I'm not really all about that. Didn't beat the horse dead the whole way up, like tweeting repeatedly, but just casually kind of like, I think we go higher because that just feels like what's going on here. Feels like 2019 to me. And on that note, only because this tweet actually has the exact chart pictures that I want to talk about, we're going to go and compare 2019 real quick. So this was 2019, and that's roughly what things looked like back earlier this spring, I guess actually in the winter. And then we dipped even further down, and this was like banking crisis, USDC depeg. And I was just kind of thinking, like, let's just see what it looks like 20 days later, because this felt bad, right? We had already come up a bit, we'd rolled over, we'd confirmed bearish market structure in the daily. And then all I could think is like, yeah, but it's so early. And what to me is the new kind of bull. I don't know if it's like, the bull cycle, whatever. But we just come off the lows, FUD infinity all over the place, kind of in the past, bad news was coming out, price was going up. So I just had this vibe like, yo, this trend's probably going to squeeze a lot of overzealous bears. And look, 20 days later, this shit's looking pretty good at 28K. And even just since I posted this yesterday, man, holy shit, what a move we got in the last couple days. And admittedly, I didn't have any like really sexy, fun, cool leverage P&L stuff going on through this move, which sucks. But spot long, like basically 96% just been in spot positions. And then it's just a matter of like fastest horse. Do I want to be in ETH? Do I want to be in Bitcoin? If you guys watch this stream at all, you know that I am the worst ETH BTC trader out there, typically flipping one way or the other at the worst possible moment. So I humbly recommend fading when I publicly announce that I'm switching from one to the other in mass. Now, I actually don't know where the ETH BTC chart is. There it is. I say that like tongue in cheek because these are all pretty small moves, right? And that's the thing we were talking about. We're actually on voice in the pit. If you guys aren't in the pit on Discord, if you are in the pit, most people watching probably already are. But if you're not in the pit on Discord, it's free and you should join. There's just a whole bunch of good trade discussions going on there. A lot of trolling. Be weary of Circa. He literally just trolls me all day long. I told him today, I will not be baited by you, sir. We had a good laugh as he attempted to draw me into every possible little tit for tat. But no, we have a good time in there. And what we were doing on voice yesterday was discussing kind of like an impromptu voice chat. I just was like, yeah, let's all get on stream or on voice because shit's moving. But one of the things we were discussing is how like, you know, waiting for this. Oh, I think my YouTube is playing audio. One sec. Mute self. Okay. Um, waiting for this to break down and then being like, okay, I'm going to get back out of my ETH and get into Bitcoin. And then like, oh, bullish market structure. I'm going to get back into my ETH. And then like, oh, look, we broke out. We might have flipped this level. get back into Bitcoin. Like these are all 2 and 3% moves. It's not really that worth the time. And obviously in this case, it's been a lot of chop. It's been hard to trade. And at this exact moment, doing the thing I usually do, I would probably look at this and be like, hey, we're breaking lower. I'm gonna get back into Bitcoin. And like, lo and behold, Shanghai tomorrow, and this ends up being the exact bottom, and ETH runs and goes crazy, and all that deflationary stuff that we like to watch on ultrasound money comes to fruition. Who knows, right? So as of right now, I am more in Bitcoin. Got some ETH, got some alts. I'm really focused on LSDs, and I'm starting to shift my focus over to China-based coins. See if I can find that report today. But we put this out through the fund because we had a discussion about it. It said, look, Hong Kong is cooking up some interest again in crypto, and presumably rumors have it that that's coming from mainland China. Like obviously, it's like they'd probably have to okay it, and they're using Hong Kong as a test bed. So if that's happening, you bet your bottom dollar those alts that are associated with China are going to do well. That's just kind of how this stuff works, right? Chat GPT comes out, it's super cool. AI coins go crazy. They have nothing to do with Chat GPT. And the majority of them, their token has nothing to do with the proliferation of AI. But this is how humans trade. And it's not even unique to crypto. I mean, even in the stock market, I remember it was like a year or two ago, and there was like a stock named Eyes, and it started to run. And then like the next day, a stock named Ears just started to pump. And it was like, what, a fucking body part tickers are moving? Like this is just a thing. It's humans, it's pattern recognition, whatever. So I think LSDs is a dunk as far as like focusing on a sector. It makes sense that they would do well, unless, of course, you take the other side of it and you say, well, they've been doing well because of the speculation of Shanghai. And once that comes, they'll be boring again. Possible. And so I apply my TA, we do our setups, we have invalidations. But right now, for the very first time ever, I'm holding some LDO. Let's go look at that chart. It was less about like, hey, this is the most bullish looking chart out there and I want to be long. And it was more about, hey, this is the leader in a sector I think will do well. And I can get some nice yield LPing it with Ethereum. And so, in a way, in my mind, I'm like, well, I'll be long Ethereum and LDO while generating some yield. So I actually like to look at this chart. That's a 15-minute. We should probably start higher. Didn't even realize. I thought that was the daily. Oops. Obviously LDO stalled at the highs, double topped, dropped back down. Did it hit a reload zone? Not really. So it's been pretty chintzy with giving up ground to the bears, and really it's just been kind of hanging out in the PCZ, which I like even more. I mean, entries down in the reload zone are even better, but in a more sort of high intensity, higher momentum move, stronger assets, they tend to just chill here and go. Distinctly recall things like Matic last year. I'll give you an example of what it looks like, because the PCZ, if you guys have watched the video, which we could always plug right up there in the corner on the rewatch. But I made a video about this PCZ, the pump chaser zone thing. It's my own creation. It's not real. You can't go Google it somewhere else. I don't know if that makes it better or worse, but point is, it can be really good at like tap and go. So you have like a really strong breakout, and then it just like comes down, touches the zone, and goes. And that's probably the most fun to trade it. But I distinctly recall this moment here where price just kind of hung out for like 40 days in the zone. Let's just find oh, come on now. Give me that fib. Where is it? There it is. Right here. So this was like a 40-day consolidation where, thinking about building a position through this level ended up aging really well. As Matic, exploded higher and took over everyone's imagination. They say, holy shit, this is an ETH too. That's cool. So looking and thinking about that kind of setup, do we have something similar right now? Not really here to talk about Matic. But that's kind of what I looked at LDO today. And I was like, could be something similar where it's just, had a really strong move, anticipation of Shanghai. Now it's just sitting down here chilling. Anyways, I'm up and I LP'd it with ETH. And so I feel like I'm just long on both and However they want to yo-yo, I don't mind. I think I actually think that the Shanghai fork thing could come through and be almost like a nothing burger, a little volatility through it. But apparently, with the queue of like, if you wanted to withdraw, I should really have had that tweet up here. I read it yesterday. I don't have it on hand, but if it would take like 100 days for all the validators or some like significant amount of the validators to all withdraw just based on like block size and all that stuff. So I don't think there's just going to be this like massive exodus. And even on the other side of it, I don't necessarily think there's going to be like a massive inflow tomorrow. But once it's live and there's a few withdrawals processed and there's proof of concept, I think it's a pretty safe bet in my mind that there's more ETH or funds or capital waiting outside of this network, not yet staked, not yet validating, that's going to be coming in over time rather than some kind of rush to the exit from a group of people who staked this knowing full well they wouldn't be able to withdraw for quite some time, all of whom are underwater, by the way, on those positions. So it just strikes me as odd to see it as like oh great, now we can all unstake and rush out of our ETH positions. I mean, you'd have to be kind of a hardcore ETH supporter to even be in that position. So there's definitely going to be some withdrawals. It'd be crazy to think there'll be zero, but net positive over time, in my opinion. So I guess the question then is like, does Bitcoin give a fuck, right? Because look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin on the daily dominance breaking up from a level that a lot of people speculated would act as resistance. And look at this, holy moly. So zooming out to the dominance chart. Oh, real quick, shout out to the chat, man. What's up, guys? A little anxious today. I'm like weirdly anxious today. I don't know why, just like jittery. I took a pre-workout this morning, which I don't usually do. I always take like a tiny bit, like a half a scoop. I worked out clearly not long enough, I guess. 20-minute run usually burns through that. And then I had the one coffee that I usually have. So if it's associated with that, or if it's purely that I'm just that and tired, I don't know. But I'm weirdly anxious today. So just have a heads up. The good thing that came out of that is 20 minutes before the stream, I meditated. Yeah. I did 10 minutes of meditation, got that Calm app, did that daily Calm. It was about concentration and it felt good. I kind of decided that it'd be stupid for me to not do that every day. Anyways, sit in this chair for hours and hours throughout the day. I got a nice little mat behind me. Take 10, chill out, clear your mind. Take a deep breath. Fuck it, let's all do one. But yeah, just full disclosure, weirdly anxious today, and I really don't think it's about price action. I'm not in any massive positions. I think after huge moves, there's often some anxiety in the market. As a trader, you kind of label that emotion and be like, anxious. But yeah, just throwing that out there. If I seem like jittery today, it's because I am. But I really do think it's the pre-workout. And then I went to the gym, and on my way out the door, I noticed that the recycling hadn't been taken out. And as you know, my lady's super pregnant, so I circled right back in and then decided to just home gym workout. So I didn't get that 20-minute run in. Wow. Anyways, let's get to the chat. RL Tibbles here, Hero and Vibes. What's up, fellas? The Regs, the homies, Helly Ben. Hope you're doing well, fam. Opening the lake house north of O Town, listening to the tones of RT, mostly in Bitcoin until ETH reverses. Yeah, that's probably the safest bet right now, right? And I have nothing to say bad about that idea, in the sense that ETH is trending down. Bitcoin is showing explosive strength. I'm going to talk about this Gann square in a little bit. It's been really fun to watch for like 3 years. We possibly are forming this monstrous bottom formation on Bitcoin dominance. And there is a certain sense of zen in just being in Bitcoin, spot long Bitcoin. When it does its thing, it does its thing. And on big dip days, Circa actually and I were talking about this on Voice yesterday. On big nuki kind of like liquidation days, the bounce back on alts is often a much higher and juicier percentage than Bitcoin. So there's maybe a trade there. But in general, Bitcoin and chill is probably been and may continue to be one of the best trades in the market. And it's really anyone's guess how high this goes. Like I say, the trend is your friend. Having said that, I did do some deployment into a couple altcoins. Um, and so we'll take a look at some that I'm watching this week, and then you guys can suggest a few. Again, I put this out this morning. I would highly recommend you check this out. It's really good. It's well written. So we have two analysts at our fund that are doing research and analysis and writing more of these kinds of things and trying. Obviously, we're aiming at like topics that are relevant given what's coming up and all that. So they covered these coins in particular, which I believe you can see. We stuck on the LDO chart. What's going on over there? Have we not been flipping my tabs? Let's see. Confused. One sec, guys. It's like my screen share froze. Producer, are you there, sir? I think my screen share froze. Yeah, Nathan G says I just put the top in on BTC Dom. Possible. Anyways, screen share is back. So, anyways, yeah, LDO. I think we were just stuck on that chart for some reason. Anyways, the screen share is reset and it should be fine. But check out this report. They covered a lot of tokens. If nothing else, it just explains kind of what they are, what they do, market caps, a little bit of speculation on what we like in the charts and all that stuff. Highly recommended a read. And if you guys want, show some love on the Medium, follow our account. Do it. Why not? But yeah, let's go back. So Bitcoin dominance, I don't think it was even on the screen when I was talking about it, but it is now, and it's looking ridiculous. So if this is the high for it, which in a weird way I hope it is, because then we can have some real fun with distribution into ETH and altcoins. It kind of makes sense that this Shanghai upgrade is coming tomorrow, and that this could be like this is a potential pivot area, right? Because this was when it broke down. That was around the merge, ETH getting all the love, and then it just kind of like did a sweep of the lows, which I know a lot of people like to laugh at because you can't really trade Bitcoin dominance, so sweeping a level, but it was actually more like a sweep of the highs on ETH. But anyways, and then now we're like up at this other extreme end of this consolidation range. So it would be interesting and not entirely out of the question for the Shanghai upgrade to mark the end of this move, and then ETH really starts to pick up steam. I think a lot of people would like to see that. The Bitcoin and chill crowd, probably not as much, but as an altcoin guy, I think I would. But I've got enough Bitcoin exposure, and I think generally, at least for the last 2 days, the alts that I'm in, STG, things like that, they've been doing okay too. Let's go look at them. So it's not all for naught. Now here's the thing, though. Big breakout yesterday, like everything kind of breaks out, right? STG's up 12%, Bitcoin's up 5%. So you're feeling like, oh, okay, I'm pretty good. But if Bitcoin continues just like blasting into outer space, eventually these kinds of coins are likely to like just fall off a bit, and they're not going to keep up, at least historically. And this is what I'm seeing on Bitcoin on this crazy old Gann square. Now, I actually drew this up way back here, as many of you know. I've brought it up on stream a few times. And then it just spits out this big Gann square, which at the very simplest way to look at it, because it looks ridiculous, right? It's like, oh my God, these TA guys. But just think of it as like these are horizontal supports and resistances. These angles connect the same horizontal supports and resistances, and the arcs the same way. And sometimes as you come into an arc, you ride the arc down, as we did here, kind of like riding it down, riding it down, riding it down, riding it down, and then breaking through it, and now working our way up. It would not shock me in that context, thinking about the arcs. And now that we've broken through after just hovering at this horizontal resistance, which, by the way, this was just like price discovery. So it's kind of spooky that it's almost like this Gann horizontal is what created the support and resistance, because this was just pie in the sky. I mean, I guess no, it's not even 30K. So it's not even a round number. So I would argue it's possible that this Gann actually helped establish the support resistance just the way it's drawn. Of course, you could draw it a few different ways on different time scales and ratios, but it's interesting to me that it has held the test of time. Even the FTX lows were again horizontal. And then as soon as we moved through the arc, it was just like, bam. And then that big banking crisis dip was just an angle, and then straight teleport to the next horizontal. I mean, this thing, in retrospect, trading is so easy. Anyways, uh, this is a 3-day chart, by the way. So this is actually, like, as you know, been a couple weeks of not moving right under that resistance, and now we've just blasted through. Try to ignore the volume on this particular chart because this is Bitcoin USDT on Binance, and they turned off their feeless trading um, recently. And so it looks like the volume has just disappeared. Now, I'm not going to lie, across the board, volume doesn't look great up here. And so it really is more like, let's see what happens now. Volume is generally supposed to fall off in these consolidations. There's just kind of like a lull in market action as everyone shuffles in their positions and all that. And so, what we want to see after a really strong daily close yesterday is a continuation, which we're getting today. And then I'd like to see a blast of volume somewhere here. And frankly, I think we're going to get it. I think this is the beginning of another move. Doesn't look like a top to me. And there's going to be a lot of people out there that are doing nothing but sitting here looking for ways to short the top, short the top. And I think there's just a ton of fuel left. And if I had to be a betting man, which I am, because it's essentially what trading is, I think it'd be really cool, if nothing else, for the love of this Gann square, if we just kind of teleport our way up, maybe even peak out somewhere around this horizontal and then ride this arc down through the summer. September is usually a shitty month. Maybe retest this. Like, that to me looks very friendly with physics as far as this Gann square, which I should have been paying way more attention to over the last few years because it's smacked. I mean, it also, in a weird way, not saying I did, but this Gann square called the top of the market. I mean, this was the top, and it was the end of this square, which was really drawn just by connecting that point with that point, which is super crazy to think about. There's actually a book, BTC Jack Sparrow, buddy of mine. You may know him from Twitter. He has like the Gann Bible. It's like this thick book. I mean, that dude went into like, Gann went into like stars and all this crazy shit. But anyways, this simple tool, or fairly complicated tool, but simple to follow once it's up. It's been smacking, and it's kind of just found some clear skies here. So I'm gonna let it be my guide. I'm not gonna rush to close my positions. And that's a lot easier to say when you are in spot long positions and not sitting there on, like, crazy leverage. If I was still super leverage long, which I was actually at the range lows here, closed it in the range, which, looking back, you're like, why? But it was a good trade, and now it's done. And it's easier to sit in these positions when it's just like spot positions. I don't know. There's just no chance liquidations. Worst case, you catch a dip, didn't sell the top. Okay, no, whatever. But the trend is strong, and the trend is my friend. That's basically the way I see it. Nathaniel, what's up? Good to have you here, man. Hey, Hero fam, here for the alpha. What's up, Andre? Zen baby, yep. Put the top of the BT sign. Okay, so moving on. I'm late. Sorry. RT, what is bizarre is that it broke through first try, no rejection. I'm not sure what level you're talking about with the breakthrough, no rejection. I guess maybe BTC dominance. I mean, this is a weekly. It chilled there for 3 weeks. So this is the problem with going back to the chat like 5 minutes after somebody said something. My bad, Jedi. And this also didn't break through first try. This thing sat there for 3 weeks, just plowing up into it, getting rejected, plowing up, getting rejected, but not really rejected, right? Like low time frame, like ranging rejection. Probably easier to see here on my other chart, where we had a really nice range to work with for a bit. And it was a little suspect that once we broke out the top, I remember that night, that was a crazy night, smacked right down to range EQ, and then just kind of like lived in this upper part of the range. So as we approached it the other day, had I been, full focus, full bore, sitting here at the desk ready to go, I think this would have been an interesting place to speculate on a tight long, just trying to like, this is it, we're going. But I was pretty complacent, to be completely honest. I had just gotten back from a trip. We had, Easter weekend. Forget to celebrate that. Happy Easter, belated. And anyways, so it's kind of like Monday open, and I was actually in a bank, ironically enough, when I got all the price alerts of things breaking out, and I was standing there like, God damn it, this bank. screwed me again. Um, but this is just such a sick move, and there's really no signs of rejection. I mean, it's totally normal and frankly kind of healthy to just like stop and chill for a bit. I'm hoping CPI tomorrow morning could do something like this on like a 1 minute chart. That's a huge move for a 1 minute chart. I don't think I'll get it. But you better believe I'm going to have some stinky little bids down here on a level like a 382, probably front running it because there is a lot of dip hunters right now, given this breakout. And I don't mean like mom and pop shops. I mean, there's probably some real institutional whale size bidding going on below these levels. I don't have those books. You know, those guys that the cool guys that say, oh, look at all the bids down here in the book. I'm just speculating on the massive sort of level we just broke out of. This is the kind of stuff that makes headlines. So I think there's a big bid resting in this market probably now for the next little bit. We are back above the July lows. I mean, however you want to split it, guys, this was support, 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 support. It acted as a bit of a roadblock here. We're back into an entirely new world, an entirely new range. So am I calling tops here? No. In fact, in a weird way, I think this is the bottom of this, like, of a new zone. I mean, it's not the best chart to illustrate it on. Did I just say that live on the stream? Actually, guys, this is the bottom. Could you imagine? Who would say that? What a dick. But let's flip. Let's just like clean this up. This is what I'm talking about. Because for a little while there, if you guys recall, during 2022, we had this range, and obviously we hadn't come down here yet, but there was this talk of, even I was kind of speculating on like this idea of like, could we just get some fib pong? Where, oh, you know, the bear market doesn't have to be so bad. Maybe it's just going to consolidate like this and then, you know, and then go higher. Point is, all of the bull market lived really once it got there above that level. Once we break back above that level, it becomes a floor. And so in that sense, we're back into a new range. I guess you could say, hopefully Cirque is watching so he can judge me on my commentary here around deviation. But if you were to say this is your range, we could speculate that this was a deviation, a big nasty 4-week deviation that marked the highs. And then we had all these implosions and bullshit, ending with FTX, which was literally like blindsided the whole world, other than BitBoy and a handful of haters, who, in retrospect, we got to give them the credit where credit's due. They saw it coming, and I totally faded them and lost money. So once we break back into this, that's what I mean about sort of like a whole new wave of bid entering the market, because there's just a new view now, a new trade, new zone. So exactly where you want to put this line, whatever, I don't know. Could tie it in with this little weekly. But I think if we get back inside here, there's some real saucy things that could happen. And I'm sticking to it. Now, for those of you who are like, oh my God, I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off, I don't know what to do with myself. The best thing I can tell people is just like trade the trend. The trend is your friend. And that used to drive me nuts when I was newer. So if that kind of like doesn't sit well with you, because it just sounds complacent and it's like, oh yeah, easy for you to say. I don't know, but it works, generally speaking, because when you trade with a trend, just say it's an uptrend. Obviously, that moves tend to be bigger, and they can come one after another after another. And you might spend, if you're shorting, like if you're playing against the trend, you might spend like 5 attempts to try to like catch the short. Ooh, ES just got a greater alert. ES breaking out. Let's go see that in a sec. And then it's like, ooh, yay, I caught a short trade during an uptrend. Like, it's a small trade. You probably got rinsed once or twice trying to catch it. And all that time could have been focusing on getting set up for the next good long. And then that's, you know, and then if you're real pro, more pro than me, I'm not there yet. I really need like apparently another cycle to get good at this. But catching and building, holding those positions, I can do it on spot. I'm doing it really well on spot this year, which is my, you know, give myself a pat on the back. But when it comes to my leverage account, which is way more exciting, I'm not there yet. You know, really nice long at the low range that we just had, and just wasn't able to hold it through. Didn't want to. Saw the P&L up and down, and I was like, I'm going to capture that. That's a trade I want. I think someday I should and will develop the ability to like build longer, lower leverage positions that last through, weekly trends. That's kind of my goals. Hashtag goals. So get back to the chat here before I continue on with my rant. Oh, sound fixed. Oh no, the sound was off. See, yeah, it's probably me, guys. I'm a bit of a sound noob. I also am not monitoring. So if I direct the mic straight into my throat, probably doesn't sound very good. So that's why we have a producer. He fixed it before I even noticed it. Thanks, guys, for giving him the heads up. He should be monitoring. He is. Thank you. Test by late May chart, if I recall correctly, totally normal. Teleport. Yeah. Dude, that's how this feels. I know it sounds annoying because it's like, man, we just moved 3K in one day and you're telling me the teleport is coming? But like, yeah. And why not? What is there about this chart that doesn't say like we're moving higher aside from failing momentum and volume? I mean, keep an eye on those things. But I think this is like breakout week number 2. Obviously, this was breakout week, but this is the big one, right? We reclaimed our first level here, like our first major level. That was like, oh man, we're back. But this is a level. This is like the level. This was what we had all hoped was going to be the bull market lows, right? The bear market lows. So getting back inside of that is going to be spicy. Now let's go look at the other Gann. Just because the 50-50 is really fun to watch. Again, it's not like, that Gann fan. Oh, let's just give me the same alert again. Okay. That Gann fan really is like a cool ass tool, as you may have noticed. It was like, doing a lot of support and resistance through this entire thing. But this Gann 50-50 rule of like the idea of like you have a huge downtrend and then take back half of that move in half the time. That's a thing. It's a thing. You can see it back here. I'm pretty sure it's inked on this chart. Nope. Okay, let's actually just go check here. Maybe it's on this one. Wow, that's where I hid that. Okay. Anyways, I've drawn it up before on stream ad nauseum, but yeah, there it is. The exact literal thing happened in the last bear market. So at the very least, we have a sample size of 1, where just after the 50% of the time, that 50% came in. And trust me, it was just as surprising then as it would be now if it happened. Not too many people, especially with 6K just turning into butter instantly. Nobody, like, there was no resistance there whatsoever. And then we came up in pretty close. I mean, come on, pretty close. And then that was roughly where it topped. And then, came back down. Perfect Wyckoff check as the COVID crash. And we had our continuation. Now, philosophers for decades will be debating whether this was the beginning of the next bull market or somehow this or this or this. I mean, I would argue that it was this. It's like the end of the bear should mark the beginning of the bull, right? You can have a washing machine cycle. The bull market tends to start slow, gradually, then suddenly. But technically, we were in some kind of uptrend on whatever time frame. Like from here, this was like a blast of buy volume that Mark said kind of like, okay, I'm done going down now. And we never revisited that until we just tapped it before taking off, despite months of like torturous low volatility before it happened. So, a lot of people would say the bull market really started kind of more here. Easy to say in retrospect, but I guess my point is, first, let's go find the thing I was looking at. There it is. It is possible, if we look at the weekly, that this was the beginning of the next bull. And that doesn't mean it's going to go straight up forever. Bull markets have lots of down months and down weeks and down, like this. This sucked. You guys were there for that, some of you. Anyways, I think we may look back and say like, holy shit, that was the beginning of the next bull. And that just very easily could look something like what we talked about on that last Gann square, where we kind of ride up and then come down the arc. I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm probably like using that as my base case. But this could really teleport here and then, If it plays out something like 2019, it would be something like that, and then maybe just like chill out through the summer, which always sucks, right? But if that happens and we find some higher low and then we end up going off into the oblivion through the happening and whatever, does that, can you look back at this and say this was the start or whatever of the next bull? I think so. So it's going to be a bumpy ride. For the next little bit, I think it's going to be like really painful for people who are either trying to rush to short this or sidelined and kind of like, I'm not going to buy because I didn't buy earlier and I didn't, it could get painful for the sideline ors. It has been, and I think it's going to continue to be for quite a while here. Quite a while, as in at least a period of weeks. But that's just me, and I'm just one guy, and I don't actually know. Full disclosure. Fill does look nice. In fact, I got filled on some fill. Yeah. Okay. Wiggles says, "Show me your bags." Enough about Bitcoin. We know it's going up, but what about the bags? Let's take a look at some bags. So first off, did I tweet it out? Because there's also a report we put out. You could just, you know what? Fuck that shit. Go to the Medium. This is one we just put out on the same Medium page. I can go to the Medium. Look at that. Even easier. The last one we put out was this. So this was just last week. Hong Kong's new crypto trading guidelines, the China narrative. And we are, when I say we, I'm not talking about Hxro Labs. When I say we, in this particular context, I'm talking about at my fund. But we are really bullish. And frankly, it's driven a lot by me. I'm like pushing everyone. I'm like, guys, let's think about China. Think about Chinese coins. Let's not sleep on that. It was kind of forgotten after a re-report of something that came out last October. So it wasn't really news, but some reason in January, February, there was another comment on Hong Kong and China and all that. And, all the main names broke out. And I think since then, they've kind of been forgotten. This was that breakout I'm talking about. So I think there's another wave left in that. I think there's another strong leg left in that. And I plan to be a part of it if it does come. And I plan to get stopped out if I'm wrong, which is the way she goes. But here's Phil. Here's Filecoin, which is its own L1. You should go read that report. I actually learned shit because I don't write these, so when I go read them, I learn shit. But it's basically like an on-chain cloud storage L1. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and read it to you, but you should go read it. And then, this just looks good. It's got this level, just like a lot of the market did. It lost the level, it reclaimed the level, and then it broke out on volume right around when that first China news kind of like redropped, which was again weird because it had already was like an old news story from October 2022. But I guess no one was thinking about bullish things back in October, right? It was just before FTX finished off the bear market. So what we have, I mean, I'm gonna turn these off. They're hiding my volume. You can see that, right? Yeah. So like, I don't know, not a massive breakout in volume, but this is a really nice looking candle. Just kind of building up, coiling, breakout. So dips into this kind of stuff I like. I'm already a little bit long on this one. I've not gotten filled entirely. I did a pretty aggressive pump chaser zone, something like this, and got filled today. But I think I'm much more comfortable with something like that, especially with CPI coming tomorrow. I don't think it's like, oh, CPI might reverse the entire market, but it certainly may cause a little shakeout, whatever it is. Those numbers come, you get that 1 minute ridiculousness. I think trend is your friend. Trend probably continues higher. I just don't see any kind of data coming out tomorrow that's like, oh man, we had it all wrong, and this whole weekly uptrend just has to go away because of CPI data came back. But I would love to just see like a little boop, and then like, so that's kind of what I'm preparing for tonight and tomorrow morning. I'll be up bright and early, ready to see if I can get some bids filled on coins like this. The trade for Bitcoin kind of came and went, which sucks. Not like you can't trend trade and do other kinds of trades along the way. But when I first talked about trading Bitcoin on this CPI thing, it was still down here. And I was kind of hoping like whatever little wick I could get, and then it would do what it did yesterday. Well, it front ran me. So it's already moving. I don't know how much I like trying to catch a wick on Bitcoin because it's just a really fat, wide range. It's hard to frame risk. It's just less exciting. It could still continue to be the market leader, or maybe Shanghai pivots that and we get some alt stuff. And Bitcoin just finds a nice little chill zone up here. Like if Bitcoin wants to come and hang out in this area for the next month, that would actually be great news. Yeah, okay, I missed my target. I don't really get to claim cloud on a 50-50 Gann, but we have an alt season. China coins, LSDs, Ethereum. Much prefer that, to be completely honest. But for tomorrow, I think we can delete that, make it a little more clear. This is probably the safer way to draw it. Sometimes I draw it really aggressively right up to where the last sort of structure came in, whatever. Point is like this kind of like mid to low 29s, but that's the problem, right? Like this is just a big zone. Like even just that little gap there is like a couple $100. Risking to that. Like, I don't know. This just feels really loosey goosey to me. I don't like it as much. So I really much prefer the idea of thinking about some of the other coins I mentioned earlier. In this case, I think I should look at the perp. I think I have some ink on that. Yep, about the same. But yeah, so Phil is probably the leader on that list. Let's go look. We actually listed them for you. So yeah, it's kind of like the higher cap one. So it's some people look at that and say limited upside. I like it for the liquidity, and it still knows how to move. I mean, these moves are not small. So if China does catch a narrative, which I think it will into the spring, then I love any kind of dip into that as a setup. And you kind of have to get the fuck out if we go down there, which locally might be really painful because there's another setup that would form down there, which is arguably the more patient setup, the reload zone. So if this got nuked and stopped out and then just chilled for a little while and there were some bull divs and some rising volume, I'd probably look for another one. That's the more boring way it could happen. Oftentimes the way it does happen after trying to like get really aggressive after it. But I'm certainly going to be looking for that CPI dip on Phil. If you're in the pit, my other big bag is Blur. Loving the Blur right now. Look at this chart though. What's not to love? So you have an airdrop. Oh, you have an airdrop. The coin comes out, does its thing. Ooh, look at me. I'm an airdrop. I'm going to go up so high. Then it washes out because it's a free coin and everyone wants to claim. You get some panic dumpers, whatever. Nice little breakout on volume. Bulls step in, form a floor, and then a really sweet, slow drip into the reload zone. And then another W, another rising volume breakout. And now we've just done the drip thing again. So I did fill some longs down here, rebuy my bag, all that stuff. And for now, it's just looking good. It's actually kind of outperforming a little bit today with some of the other alts. And it's never really had its run, right? So it kind of had what Gunny on the show likes to call the Gartner hype cycle, I think, where it's kind of have like that post-launch wildness and then just chill, and then you get like the move. So that's what I'm hoping to see here. I've got a pretty nice setup to work with. So it's not like, hope is not really part of it. It's just take some size, put it in the market. If it goes below here, I'm wrong. Get the fuck out. But until then, there's some nice upside targets here on Blur, which I think will be tied somewhat to Arbitrum because they're kind of like airdrop token coins. That could be its own little weird sector. It seemed to be last week anyways. And then that ARB FUD hit and that kind of killed the Blur rally locally. So if Arbitrum takes off and runs, which it certainly could if Shanghai does do sort of like an ETH season type thing, then I think that could help Blur as well. As weird as that sounds, it's like they're airdrop tokens. It's a new sector. We're going to call them airdrop tokens. Vibe says the research stuff looks great, by the way. Thank you. And I really appreciate that. And I'll make sure the guys hear that as well. They might actually be watching. So if you guys are watching, you're getting some love. CSPR bags, CRISPR. That's not CRISPR. Reminded me of that like gene modification stock, CRISPR. Crowded. Bull markets are crowded. Bull markets are crowded. Yep. Very crowded. So are bears. Yeah. Your butt's crowded. Okay. The chat is getting wild. Um, yeah, this is the thing, dude. Look, I get it. It's really hard to trade this here, especially if you've been on the fence and not sure, maybe even, took a few shorts here, whatever, like licking some wounds. I mean, and then the move just happens. Bam. 3K one day, whatever it was. It's really hard to take positions here, especially if you trade like I do. And frankly, this is just not really the place to take positions. There was a few opportunities through here to take positions. There's a few opportunities through here to take positions, but the moves happen fast. I saw a stat one time. You guys probably heard this one. But something like there's like 9 or 10 days in a year that make up something like 80% of Bitcoin's returns. 9 or 10 days. So if every time it goes into chop zone and you just don't know which way it's going to break, you get back into cash, and then the move happens, and then you get back in, you just miss 1/10 of the majority of the year's move. Like in the bull market, it comes down to like 9 or 10 days that make up the majority of the upside, which is kind of a crazy stat. Today was one of those days, period. It just was. We missed it. If you didn't have it already, it's gone now. Now, is there going to be another day coming up? I mean, I think there is. I don't think you go sideways for this many days and just build up that kind of strength and then just like, oh, and then that's my 2 cents. But is there a setup where I can take longs like right up against these highs? That's crazy. So the CPI might be a gift. It might bail some more aggressive traders out where you're like, I certainly just don't feel comfortable longing this. I don't really feel comfortable having like a buy stop to just buy the breakout, although there's a ton of, TradFi type trend trading systems that work like that, where there's just like buy stops at all-time highs and then it's just riding price discovery. But this is a different thing. This is not price discovery. So that kind of should work if we ever get above 69K, where every time it makes a new high, add a little size. Like, I don't trade like that. That's crazy to me. But it's a thing. It is a thing. The Way of the Turtles talked about that, which was a really cool trading book if you want to read about some super famous, super famous, but famous traders from Chicago. They talked a bit about that in there. So yeah, does the CPI give us, some kind of like, even just tagging this EMA? I don't know. Does it give you a chance to get in and then it goes? I think no matter what happens tomorrow, like trend is friend, trend continuation is my base case, like very strongly. So there's not too much like red candleage that could happen tomorrow that wouldn't just make me want to buy more. And I think that's an important premise for me to go into that day with, so that in the face of red candles, I'm not like searching Twitter, checking chats, trying to see if I should second guess myself. I'm just like laser focused, finding levels, looking for longs, and prepared to get nuked. That's the key. It's harder than it sounds. You have to be fully prepared to just lose money because you have a strong enough hunch and a tight enough invalidation or whatever, managed risk, to just accept that you're going to lose money sometimes. Very hard to do that. That's why a lot of people just make really bad traders. And most people, as much as they like to look back on other people's gains and say, oh man, that seems so sweet, that's so easy, you got lucky, blah, blah, blah. Fact is, most people can't do it. It's just like, and it's also why I always preach TRI and say, like, go learn how to do this, because when you have setups and you've tested them and you've seen enough of the stuff and you can kind of understand some of how it works, it's a lot easier to maintain conviction in the face of the dip, which is usually where your setup should be triggering your long setup, or a short setup in the face of the rip. So how sick would it be? This is just the level I don't think we're going to get. It's just very crowded, as somebody mentioned in the chat. But like that kind of stuff would just be so much fun. Just like, it would seem too easy. So if it comes, probably gets nuked. But I think it's way too crowded now. I think the breakout's way too strong. I think the pullback has been way non-existent. And like I said, even though I don't have the heat maps, I'm guessing there are some thick stack bids and I don't get any kind of fills down here, which is fine. If they come, I take them. If they don't come, next trade. Okay, I think I'm ranting about Bitcoin way too much. It's not like it just moved 3K in one day. Come on, guys. Super exciting. But let's go to another one on my list of Chinese coins that I like. Nervos Network. Don't ask me what it does. I don't know. But it is in this report. So basically, going back to this again, because this is really what I'm working from. Like I asked them, I was like, guys, write this up, do a bunch of research, show it to me so I can take some action. And this is the list of a lot of coins that they found, and then they only really wrote up on 5 of them because some of these are either shit or they're just like cooked and the charts don't look very good. And so the 5 that we picked, it's not meant to be like a pick your coin newsletter. It's definitely not financial advice or any bullshit like that. So don't be blindly trying to trade the shit. But point is, Nervos Network made the cut because the chart looks good. So let's look at the chart. Let's look at the chart. Like, first of all, high time frame zoomed out. It had its fun. It died. It built a base. And now big buy volume is coming in at the lows. Let's just start with that premise because that is always a nice thing to see. Now, I don't absolutely love this structure. I'm not going to lie. I'm not in love with it. There's not a ton for me to work with here. Like there was a nice sweet spot tag after a big breakout, but then you get a big blast of buy volume. And so I guess that's kind of where I found my setup here is coming back in then saying, okay, so, we had a big move, we reset it. We had another big move on even higher volume. We've kind of reset that. And now we're into this reload zone. And just yesterday on the 4-hour, we got a nice little bump on volume. Go figure. And it was a confirmation of a 4-hour W. And I believe there was some bull divs going on. Definitely a MACD one. Not really an RSI one, which is okay. But for the sake of a 3-step setup in the reload zone, MACD bullish divergence, W breakout, I can trade that. So I did some filling, as you can imagine, on the PCZ today, pretty aggressively in here, trying to get long. I like the idea of a deeper pullback to like a Wyckoff check, which would be the local reload zone of the reload zone of the reload zone. That would actually be like almost perfect sweet spot. So I'm looking to fill there as well. So building along, growing along, puking out my guts down here. That would be my invalidation. So it's a pretty tight one, which on the daily is not ideal, but it's a perp long. It's not like a big spot position that I want to hold for 2 years. So I want it to touch and go here, or I'm pretty much getting out of this one for a bit. A lot of this, I think, is going to ride on, obviously, news cycles, headlines. Anything bullish coming out of China is going to be good news. There was something bullish. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I posted it yesterday in a Telegram, so it should be pretty close by. Bear with me here. Yeah. So this came out. Bullish developments from Hong Kong. I'm not going to read it to you, but you can pause and read it. Actually, you can't because the bottom is cut off, but that's okay. Here. Can you pause and read it now? Yeah. If you catch it right. Anyways, this, I think I might have retweeted it. Did I? I didn't. Okay, I'm going to retweet it now. So follow me on Twitter and you can see it. But read that. I thought that's interesting. And so that kind of stuff, if that keeps happening, I think Philcoin is now like the Neo. It's kind of like going to be the leader of Chinese coins, just based on market cap and all that. But let's not sleep on Neo. There are still people that are very bullish on this. Word on the street. Don't ask me who, but in China, I imagine there are still some bulls here. All I know is the last time I looked deeply into Neo, or at least beyond the surface, they had a massive war chest of like $350 million. Now that was like 2.5 years ago. So I don't know where they're at now, but they're not dead. If you're a dev and all that, you're like, well, what the hell happened to them during L1 season? Like they were literally non-existent. Who's building over there? I don't know, but let's not sleep on them because this market is irrational. And if Chinese coins pump, Neo's going to run with them. And it's doing that thing, that Matic thing, that LDO thing that we looked at the start of the stream, just chilling in the high time frame, PCZ, blah, blah, blah. Might be a little daily W here. So am I sitting here saying like I don't even have bids on Neo? I don't have any Neo. I'm probably not going to buy any Neo, but I'm going to sit here and say I told you so. If it rallies, no, it's not. I probably won't. But this one, it's probably going to run with them. So the running of the bulls in China is after LSDs, and I don't even know about after. Like in a weird way, LSDs, there's more risk of sell the news early because Shanghai's tomorrow, and maybe everyone's just like, they were cool, but they already kind of ran up, and Shanghai's live, but it's a nothing burger because there's some withdrawals and some deposits, and who cares? Maybe it's a slow burner, bull thing for LSDs. It's almost certainly bullish on LSD projects, but is it like a catalyst impetus like, they're all going to moon tomorrow? Probably not. This one, this whole Hong Kong stepping back into China, mainland China possibly sanctioning such things, I think that's more of a sleeper play still, right? Because we kind of like had the chart breaking it out and now they're just chilling. So that next leg, I don't know. I like this more than I like LSDs right now. I think I've just made that clear. So it may be the case where I could just sit back and wait. And if something like Filecoin runs, I can then go and aggressively have like a short list, ready to go. I think for the memes, Neo has to be on it. Ontology already had a pretty crazy breakout a couple days ago. Apparently, I was inking it up saying it could do something like that. Wow, it was very aggressive, RT. The hell? I don't even remember doing that. I'm talking about myself in the third person today. Shit's getting weird. Also sitting in sort of a high time frame. So I don't know. Looking back, a lot of this stuff could look pretty obvious if we still get more positive news cycles out of China and then they just run. ONT probably on that list as well. I don't know if it made the articles cut. We'd have to reread it. I read it while on a flight, so I don't remember things because I'm also drinking when I'm on a flight. But Digital Identity Project, I don't know if it made like the list of 5 in-depths, but see for yourself. Go click on it. Check it out. I think ONT probably is in that ballpark. And then, real quick, looking back here, the thing is like there's a bigger setup here on the daily that could still come in. So like I get stopped out and then it does something like this. And then there's a daily W and like that's a much cleaner setup. There's no daily W here. And this is even like kind of weird. So, I don't know that I love this one, but it's real cute on the 4 hour. So if it happens pretty quickly, I'm happy to be long on it. And given what Bitcoin's doing and, Filecoin might be ripping, I'm willing to take this risk in this little zone here. That's just the way it is. So CASPER, okay. I'm going to bite here. Hera is running, by the way. Who knew? There's a bull market. There's a secret bull market going on over on Hera Finance. I think that's on the Metis ecosystem. Multi-chain. Pulled that up randomly earlier. It's an old investment of ours. And I haven't sold yet. I don't think I will because it's trending up. But anyways, blasting into price discovery. Okay, that's why I was looking at that. But let's go look at CASPER. Yeah, CASPER. Ooh, knowing absolutely nothing about this project, this is generally the kind of chart that like looks good to me. I know people like to see this and they say, "Oh, that looks good," and it does because it's going up. But the TRI way, the way that I like to trade, the way that I like to look at things and think about things is like finding things that have just formed bottoms or just thinking about breaking out, all that. So CASPER actually looks really good. I don't know who brought that up, but thank you. So this is the part where I would then have to go look into the coin a little bit. I've stopped being like a pure TA trader. I actually like to know a little bit about coins after just losing a bunch of trades based on things that I should have seen, like vesting schedules or inflation. Tokenomics, terrible, blah, blah, blah. So I'd probably want to look into this one a little bit, but it looks good. I mean, let's break it down. What did it have? It had its weekly W, which is pretty much the king signal of like bottom formations in crypto. It's not 100%. Sometimes it happens on the way down during a bear trend, but here it was. And then right back down into those lows. And then another little weekly W there. And then dare say that looks like a pump tracer zone to me. Don't know about these colors, but it is, right? So yeah, this thing looks really good. Don't know what it is. Do your own research, but technically speaking, it's a couple weeks past, where I'd want to have longed it from. But it's one of those charts where you're just like, man, if I come back and look at this thing in like 3 weeks, 6 months, a year, 2 years, it's probably gonna be like, holy shit, that thing was 4 cents. That's crazy. Where was I? So pick your time frame, pick your poison, all that stuff. Kevin Weiner agrees. Good chart. Yep. So as you can see, guys, there's a ton of good charts out there. I don't think there's any gooder charts than Bitcoin right now. It's looking so good. We didn't even look at ETH, not even once. We looked at ETH BTC and then we looked at BTC. And arguably, if ETH BTC is trending down and Bitcoin's ripping, why the hell would we look at ETH? But I think we owe it to ourselves. Shanghai upgrade coming tomorrow. I think we should look at it. It can be a painful bag to be in when you see Bitcoin doing what it's doing, even some altcoins doing what they're doing, and then you see ETH kind of like double top at this level. What is that level? Let's go see. The hell was I drawing? I think that's like a weekly candle body. Yeah. Yeah. So, candle body highs, support. I mean, pretty ugly support. It lots of wicks below, but I drew that up because it aligned here and then it aligned there and we were touching it. I think that we break higher from here at some point. Right now, we're being outpaced tremendously by Bitcoin. I mean, not even that much. What was up? Like 6% versus 3%. Like but it can, if that trend accelerates, it can get ugly. It can get really uncomfortable. I mean, remember, we're at a key level. So break from that key level, which it obviously on this week looks like we might have then that's where like a big move can happen. And then it feels really gross to be in the wrong one. So certainly not me sitting here advocating selling here, because that's the thing I keep doing in such a perfect fade. But for quite some time, even though I flip-flopped on my exact positioning, quite some time I've been looking at this level thinking to myself, damn, we probably just want to go check that Wyckoff check. From a purely technical standpoint, this W, big strong breakout on stilts, usually gets filled in. So would that align with, Bitcoin to 42K kind of thing? And then ETH just kind of post Shanghai, nobody cares, blah, blah, blah. Like, and then please and hopefully we just like, that's the end of that. And however long that takes, and then we can do the thing that we all thought ETH was going to do, which was flip Bitcoin someday. But we can't get too zoomed in on this. There is a scenario where Michael Saylor's right and hyper Bitcoinization happens. And we come right back in and just visit some really crazy high time frame levels. I know. Impossible. Inconceivable, but could happen. So I'm not going to go all eggs in one basket here. I want to make sure that I have some Bitcoin exposure that I'm comfortable with if everything else gets left behind for a little bit. That's how I sleep at night. You decide how you sleep. That's how I sleep. This could be the exact low for ETH BTC. Really could be. Could be like, oh man, that 88.6 was so sick. And then Shanghai upgrade came and everything turned green. But it's a really tough trade. It's a tough call. And for now, despite my best attempts to draw this as support right here, reclaimed, it appears that the level was here and we got rejected. So a lot of tongue-in-cheek analysis today. So, take it with a grain of salt. But this chart just looks ugly. It's trending down. It tried really hard to break out. So if we lose these lows, it makes it even uglier. That makes sense, right? So it's like, let's just put it this way. If you have an M top, and that basically gives permission to the market to go lower. It's like, hey, we had everything cooking for a bear, and then it springs back and goes higher. It's even stronger than if you just had moved higher. Does that make sense? Evidence of this can be seen on the Bitcoin chart very recently. I'll use this example right here. We had kind of like this rolling top being CPI day, and then blah, 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 broke all kinds of bullish technical setups. Basically, every bull turned into an invalidated bull, possibly even a bear, and then came down and just did this like sick, I don't know if that's called a Williams fractal, but it was just like a sick little like bing, bing. And then look at the reaction. That was my point. When you give everything like, when everything looks bearish as can be, and then you break higher, basically once this candle closed, you could have speculated that like, holy shit, we had every reason to roll over like really deep there and didn't. So we should expect fireworks. So going back to where that rant started, we had a really nice little base here on the lower time frames of the daily even, and then a breakout. Not much follow through on the volume. So if we were to come along and break these lows, that would be double ugly, is what I'm saying. In which case, I feel pretty strongly about this level. And that could get painful for people in ETH, people in LDO, people in these LSDs speculating for tomorrow to be the big pivot. It very well could be. So I'm not counting chickens yet. But if we lose this level in earnest, there's not much holding us up to like 0.57. Sorry, it's true. Yeah. Basically, I'm a mega fade when it comes to trading ETH BTC though. So there, Shanghai's tomorrow and we're sitting in a local reload zone. Like there's certainly a long to take here, I guess. But again, trading this pair directly has not been, it's not been like, look at it. Hasn't made any moves in like 2 years. So I use it more as a roadmap for general positioning. Make no mistake about it, folks. We are at a level and we got potentially Bitcoin dominance breaking out of like a massive accumulation formation or consolidation range, however you want to call it. So that could get crazy. That could take this trend line and just tell the trend line to shove it. We could be, I don't even want to say where we could be going. We could be going up to 60% dominance. That's going to be a crazy world to live in. We haven't been there in quite a while, but don't forget how painful this was. It sucked a lot. So not sitting here saying get out of altcoins, get into Bitcoin at the local highs of all the Bitcoin stuff, but I just think it's something you should consider. Like these scenarios are things that you should just entertain. There's a pretty good chance eventually altcoins catch up, the rotation goes well, and if you can really truly hold on to your conviction, an altcoin might 10x some point later in the cycle when Bitcoin's only 2 or 3x. Whatever. I guess that's why we do the alts, right? But where was it going with that? Oh yeah, let's kind of circle back to this crazy Gann, because I don't have a Gann for ETH. I don't have a Gann square for ETH. This is just like an old dusty chart that I had lost and then found. But we're kind of into clear skies here. And the last time we were into clear skies was here. And we came up about halfway to the next level, tanked it, and then blasted and teleported right to the next horizontal. Well, we just moved through a cluster, right? We chilled below here for a few weeks. We just blasted through. This 3-day has not closed yet. So we got a day and a half here. But once we're kind of comfortably up here, it's not a whole lot holding us back. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? And then it happens and it's just, holy shit. Oh my God, Bitcoin's doing that thing that it's done so many times. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Oh my God, it did it. It did the thing. It did the thing. Like Bitcoin does this. So don't believe it. It's probably because you're stuck in disbelief, which is a necessary emotion for us to have this rally. So thank you. I myself am stuck firmly in disbelief. But then you get these kinds of tools and you apply them to price action, and they kind of help structure logic around otherwise like emotional disbelief craziness. Kevin Weiner's saying like, yeah, great risk reward here to long ETH. I think so. somebody just said Riot is mooning. It's like they know that that's my bag. Yeah, this is my, oh, it is mooning. Holy shit, look at that. So I did shift some of my kind of equities portfolio, my nest egg retirement account, which I never look at. I moved it into like 25% of it into like crypto. Like it's in some pretty boring stuff. If I can crank out 10, 12% a year on like REITs, private REITs, whatever, that's my jam. But I moved 25% into these names because in Canada, in the Toronto Stock Exchange, we have a Bitcoin ETF, spot Bitcoin ETF. Now, why would I do that? Well, it does protect me from certain things like an FTX situation. I pay, 1% fee, which sucks. Not your coins, not your keys, not your coins. But either way, it took some exposure through the ETF because why not? I thought that's going to outperform most of the things that I could otherwise be in that account. Long story short, they're moving. Galaxy caught up, hadn't really done much, still at the resistance, but friggin' right, baby. Riot is mooning. Now, like, I don't know if we have to get right into like crypto equities picks, but I actually did do a Gann 50/50 on Riot too, just for fun. Not here to make calls. But I drew it up because it looked like it's a thing and looks like it could be a thing. Now, the interesting thing, Riot being, Riot platforms, it's like a blockchain related stuff. So, weed legalization, weed stocks go crazy, Bitcoin rally, blockchain stocks go crazy. Kodak pivoted to blockchain, I think, during 2017, their stock exploded. Look at this thing, though. I think some of these stocks, 2,300%, like some of these actually outperform Bitcoin by like echoing crypto rallies. That's why I switched over. It's just a little bit of high beta, some beta. Put a little high beta in the account. Anyways, thanks for pointing that out. I hadn't seen Riot today, and this is, for lack of a better term, mooning. And it's still like just at the 88.6, like the high time frame 88.6. So not a buy. Wouldn't say, hey, buy it at $12. Coming into some old resistances here, probably the end of the move since I'm feeling a little bit euphoric. But for the next 2 years, that's what the trade is for me. It's a 2-year trade on these coins or these stocks. And my guess is that they'll be higher than they are today. That's basically it. That's my thesis. So Riot's moving today. Marathon Digital Holdings, another one that I got off of the old TRI hotline, because a lot of guys over there banging out doubles on this last cycle. Same kind of thing, just coming in, huge volume coming in at the lows, starting to break out. So love that. So yeah, up stocks up. Now let's go see. Actually, we didn't look at the ES. We got 2 price alerts real quick. There's not an equities stream, but let's not sleep on how bullish it would be for crypto. Even though I like to be a denier of the correlation. I think that the bigger trade is the decoupling, but it doesn't hurt our case if there's a major, bull going on in TradFi. Obviously, that's just where people are making money in the markets and therefore looking to take higher and higher risks, greedy fucks that we are. And so things like crypto tend to benefit from that. So we've already kind of had a weekly W in a sense, where we made a low, and then we made a higher low, and then we broke out. Then we dipped into this trend line, which I'm supposed to call a meme trend line in case it doesn't last and work. And then it can say, I called it a meme, but it's a trend line. It's legit. And we bounced into it right in the pump chaser zone. Go figure. And now we're just looking strong. Failing volume. Oh my God. I don't know. Failing volume into resistance is kind of normal, I think. Less and less buyers are willing to buy under that resistance. Is that cope? Or is that true? I don't know. Tune in next month. Oh my God, Bitcoin's greater than everything. Just got a bunch of price alerts. Let's go see. It's moving. Now, I think at the start of the stream, I talked about the urge to short. The urge to like, you're up here. It's like, not long enough. So this could be, I don't think it is. We've been talking all day about like trade the trend. We're going much higher. But this would have been an area where like the old me, even the like pre-lunchtime today me, was trying to like maybe fill some shorts and then have like a stop here. it just seems like the kind of thing that gets blasted, like probably stopped out of the next 8 seconds. Oh, actually less than 8 seconds. 4 seconds? 3 seconds? 2 seconds? Yeah. So I'm not shorting this. Those were alerts that I set for asks I was going to fill. And if that's the top, it's going to sting because my stop loss was actually going to be $30,501. But I just have no interest in shorting this market right now. I had that urge and I set it up. And then as soon as I sat with it for about an hour and I was like, no, this feels stupid. But if that's the local high for the next little while, and then we do get a nice CPI dip or maybe even like a multi-day dip, and I filled perfectly but had canceled it, well, you'll hear me coping about it on the Thursday pit stream. But yeah, we just swept the highs here. But anyways, everything else I said all stream, like all this shit, dude, it's just doesn't look like a top to me. Net negative to get stopped out a few times on little shitty setups like this and just get diluted. That's the word. I would just be diluting myself, my net long position, by trying to like get little short hedges in every 15-minute chart, right? So I'm not going to do it, and I'm not going to cope if one or two of them might have worked out. I think we're about to fucking moon. Let's go. Let's go. There it is. Ooh, baby. New local highs. So anyways, I think we should wrap the stream up. This is looking very strong, as it should. It just took back a massive level. Like I said, ton of capital waiting for a reclaim of this kind of a level. And now we've done it. So expect to see more green candles in the future, IMO. And that does not mean that getting leverage long right here is smart. It might look smart in 2 days. It might end up being really stupid. So I can't comment on that. But my guess is 42K by May is more and more likely by the day. And with that, we will end, because that rhymed and that feels like a good way to end a stream. So I hope you guys enjoyed the stream today. Oh, see, stop loss hit, but it didn't because I canceled the setup. I'm really glad that happened on stream, so I can say, look, I'm learning. I fought the urge. To do the thing. And I would have just lost money. I would have just diluted what is otherwise an up only environment for what is ultimately a very net long position that I'm in. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk today. You just watched a trader grow. Remember that like weird news, like Justin Sun's been arrested and then it dipped here? It's weird. A lot of people like, there's just a lot of this like, oh my God, it has to dip now. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. We just reclaimed a massive level following a massive breakout and a big long consolidation. And maybe that was the top for today. I don't know. All I know is my setup just got nuked if I had used it. But I canceled it because I just don't want to short this market right now. I don't even want to think about shorting it. I would rather give back 30% and then have to sell the next bounce than spend any amount of time diluting my long position prematurely. Now, I guess we will end with something along the lines of my base case is that this is now free to move. We've broken through very key levels. And that means my base case is something along the lines of a very aggressive move higher, possibly, hopefully ending at something like this Gann horizontal, because that would be cute. It would align with my other Gann level, which would be really fun. And then it has this big friendly arc to ride down all through the summer doldrums, which we can all pretty much expect to see. But we'll go one level at a time, right? We just got through a big level and it's just got through. So it's a weird place to call tops. Really weird. Copy. It's a copy place to call tops. So I'm going to pat myself on the back. I'm actually I'm really proud of myself for canceling this little shitty short setup I thought I would put on. I had it on for about 45 minutes. I felt very uncomfortable the entire time. I went out to the bank, came back, and then I was like, cancel. So I'm glad we got to have that moment together, guys. Because the old me would have made sure to give back half of my gain just trying to get it perfect on the way up. I've stopped trying to do that. If you haven't learned the hard way, learn it from me now. Don't do it. Don't try to call tops on a strong trending market. It's so net negative. Let the top come in, let it come in. When it comes in, you're probably not going to want to, like when you give up trying to be ready for it, expect it to come. Right now that everybody doing what I just about did is fuel. Drip, 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 drip. Okay. Now I'm just fucking around. I think we're ready today, guys. Look, and yeah, and somebody here said they just closed their BTC longs. Great trade, dude. Great trade. There's nothing wrong with paying yourself at these levels. I'm not here to say like do this thing. It's just a weird place to look for shorts for me. Trend is strong. Trend is friend. Very excited to see what happens with Shanghai. Very excited to see what happens with CPI. Is that like a sweep of the local highs whereby CPI then, everyone freaks out? I hope so. I really want to buy a dip on CPI. I just don't think I'm going to get it. We'll see. You know what? Actually, there might be a new thing forming here. That'd be cool. Get rid of the short reload zone. Okay, now we're going to end with a new idea. So maybe we do move a little higher overnight. We've created a level here today. That could be the CPI like long that I'm looking for, right? Like however high we go here, whatever, maybe it's just there. That actually already aligns pretty cool. So if that was local highs for today, and we chill, like maybe the dip is this thing, and then that, I don't know. I'm going to be hunting it tonight. I'm going to be hunting it in the morning. And Godspeed, everyone. Whatever you do from now until next time, probably best to trade with the trend and always play from a position of strength. Thanks for watching.